Hey, welcome to episode 1. My name is John, and I'm so thrilled to be with you guys. I think this is going to be a blast as we go on this journey through the Lent season. Today is Ash Wednesday, and so this kicks off Lent. Some of you grew up experiencing Lent, and this has been a big part of your life. Others of you, you're like, what is Lent? And so Lent is something that's been part of the church calendar for a super, super long time. Many Christians, faith-filled disciples who are making disciples, they've experienced Lent as a really helpful thing to experience Easter every year. And so obviously, today's Ash Wednesday, and we are on our journey toward Easter. Let me say this as we get going. This is really important to really understand my heart and our heart for this 40-day devotional. Dismissing Lent is just as bad as demanding Lent. That's a really helpful phrase. Dismissing it, meaning like, I don't want to do that practice. Well, that's dismissing Lent. Practices, we say at Mission all the time, we train for transformation. And so this is what this is. This is a 40-day training plan, if you will, to engage God's Word for 40 days. Dismissing Lent, I would recommend not doing that. That's just as bad, though, as demanding Lent, meaning demanding Lent in such a way that would insinuate you're only saved if you practice these certain practices. And so that's certainly not what we mean. Jesus saves, practices don't save. Jesus, his sacrifice on the cross for you and I, we're getting ready to celebrate that this Good Friday and certainly Easter, him raising from the dead. That's what saves us. Lent, it shapes us. And those are different things. But it's really important for you and I to neither dismiss it or demand it. And I think with that simple understanding of Lent, we can engage. As a church, we're going through the Bible in 1 year. And every day, you have an option to read the Old Testament, New Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs. And if you've never read the Bible before, and truthfully, even if you have read the Bible before, you would say, man, that's a lot to read. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick from our reading plan that we're already in, one of those passages that really stood out to me the most as I've prepared for us. Today is Ash Wednesday, and I think the best place, at least for me, that jumped out from my reading today is from Mark chapter 10. This section is from our New Testament reading. Mark chapter 10, it begins in a city named Jericho. If you have a Bible, you can open up to Mark chapter 10. Or if you have the Bible in 1 year, just open up to March 2nd, and you'll see it right there. We're going to begin in verse 46. This is what it says. When they came to Jericho, as Jesus and his disciples together with a large crowd were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimeus. And so underline that, highlight that, or at least just keep that in your mind if you're working out or driving. Don't highlight. Bartimeus, he's the focus of day 1 today. Bartimeus, it says that he was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. So Bartimeus, he causes quite a stir, quite a commotion. And it says this in verse 48, many rebuked him and told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more. I love this. Son of David, have mercy on me, exclamation point. And it says this, Jesus stopped. I love that. Some of you are wondering, who is Jesus? Like, who is he? Is he the kind of king that would just keep on walking? Or is he the kind of king that would stop when he is alerted and proximate to the needy and to the broken? Jesus stopped. He stopped. And then Jesus called to him. So they called to the blind man, cheer up on your feet, he's calling you. Throwing his cloak aside, Bartimaeus, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. It says this in verse 51. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked him. If you read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you'll see Jesus ask question after question after question. More than statements, he was a question asker. Why did he do this? Well, questions get to the heart. We offer something at our church called the Alpha Course. It's a course that is really powerful. In fact, we'll do it again this September. We do it in the fall and in the winter. The logo of the Alpha Course is a question mark because we believe in the power of questions because it really helps us get to the heart of the matter, and this was modeled in the life of Jesus. Jesus asked a seemingly obvious question. What do you want me to do for you, right? And I think everyone there that day was like, why is he asking that question? Isn't it obvious? The guy's blind. But Jesus asks the question anyway. He wanted to get to the heart of Bartimaeus. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked him. The blind man said this. Here it is. Rabbi, I want to see. I want to see. "Go," said Jesus. "Your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. What a story. I love this story. This is one of my favorite stories that happens in a place called Jericho. I found it interesting that Jericho is actually the lowest city on planet Earth from an elevation standpoint, 800 feet below sea level. And for me, I'm like, that's kind of a cool fun fact. I think it's a window into where God does some of his best work. It's when you and I would say, I'm going to humble myself. I'm actually going to humble myself. I'm going to wait for Jesus. I'm even going to shout for Jesus. If he's over in this direction, I'm going to even embarrass myself if I have to get proximate to the one that can do something about my situation. This happens in Jericho, this city that is lower than any other city on planet Earth. And as you and I begin our Lenten journey, this is what we're doing. We're getting low. We're saying we're going to become less. By choosing to give up, for you, maybe it's watching the news first thing in the morning. Instead, you're going to do this devotional. Maybe for you, what you're giving up is the last thing you do in the day is watching the news or scrolling through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Instead, you're saying, no, I'm going to give those things up. I'm going to actually engage in this 40-day devotional. Others of you, you're giving up something that you love to eat, and that's painful, that's hard, that's getting low. Others of you, you're giving up an activity that you love to do. And the reason that we're going to get low, the reason that you and I are going to humble ourselves through Lent, this is what Lent is all about, is it alerts us and it reminds us that we are preparing our hearts, our bodies, everything for the power and promise and celebration of Easter. Now, here's what I really want to get at today for day one. It's a simple statement. Be a Bartimeus. Be a Bartimeus. Be a Bartimeus. If you're wondering what Devotional 1 is all about, it's that. Be a Bartimeus. Here's what I'm hoping will happen, is that you and I, over the course of these coming days, this 40-day journey, that we, like Bartimeus, will say to Jesus, I want to see. That we'd say that to him. You see, some of you, Jesus has opened the eyes of your heart already. He's given you spiritual sight. And you now see Jesus like you've never seen him before. That's true. That's because you've been saved. It's amazing what can happen. Like the eyes of our heart, maybe you've heard that phrase before. It's a little weird if you don't understand it, but the eyes of our heart, like all of a sudden we see things that we had never seen before. He's given you that. But here's what I also know is true. He wants to give you more. He wants to help you see with even greater vision who he is this Lenten season. I want to see. I believe Jesus is asking the question that he asked that day in a dusty road to Jericho. That, what do you want me to do for you? And I'm hoping and I'm praying that you and I would say back to him, I want to see. I want to see. This is the conclusion of day 1, episode 1. Be a Bartimeus. Hey, if you would, you can like this, you can share this, you can send this to a friend. We want to get the word out. We want to give so many people in our surrounding context a 40-day plan for Lent, that you and I, we would see Jesus clearer and more vividly than we ever have before in our life. We'll see you guys tomorrow.